Hey guys, welcome back to the Ministry Podcast. My name is Marco, and I'm glad to be here at Quintana Beach. You might be able to hear the waves in the background a little bit. I'm using a little onboard microphone here, seeing how it's going to go, and hopefully it turns out all right. But I wanted to share with you another devotional podcast, and let's see, it's a Monday morning. It's probably about 8:30 this morning. It's probably about 70 degrees. Man, it's a beautiful day. For those of you watching on the YouTube channel, you can see in the background the waves going. It is a beautiful blue-green water here on Quintana Beach, and the water's about to touch my feet. And there it goes, touch my feet. All right, so here we go. I wanted to read to you from Jeremiah 48. It's something I spoke to our youth group about last night, and it's verse 11. It says, Moab has been at rest from youth, left like wine on its dregs, not poured from one jar to another. And okay, I'll just keep reading. It says, she has not gone into exile, so she tastes as she did, and her aroma is unchanged. Okay, this is kind of an obscure passage, I don't know. It's not one that I've heard preached on very much. But I heard probably a couple years ago, a minister, I don't know if it was like TBN or Daystar or something, and anyhow, I saw, I want to say is Perry is the guy, not 100% sure, but he was mentioning about wine on its dregs, and I was thinking, what in the world is he talking about? But if you don't know what dregs are, it's kind of like the leftovers. Coffee grounds are used and processed, and then they are, thrown away. Well, dregs in wine is like the kind of that material or that little bit of slosh in there that is not wanted in wine. But the thing with wine is there's a very specific process to getting wine to taste good, and if it's not poured in here in verse 11. It says it was left on its dregs, which is the bottom slush, and not poured from one jar to another. When it's not stirred and when it's not mixed, it says, from one jar to another. That's how Moab was. They're describing the nation and basically saying that it's been inactive. And in this case, they're saying they were not persecuted. They didn't go through trials, and so they're not in a place. And it's talking about their belief. They're not in a place that they can trust in the Lord and that they have been tested. So because of the fact they weren't tested or mixed up or stirred, they're becoming stagnant, and they're becoming a product of something that you do not want. And I want to encourage you guys that, when we get tossed and turned and when we get mixed up, that's part of the building process, part of, God making an opportunity for us to grow and to mature and to age with grace, right? Wine is aged to perfection. And here it's saying that if it's not stirred, then, it's going bad. And I feel like our relationship with Christ, that happens all the time, that, when we have good times, you guys can't see here, but there's a little osprey hanging out right above my head. Man, it's just beautiful. Sun's right behind him. It's beautiful. Okay, anyhow, so when with Christ, we have that opportunity to grow, but when we don't, when we just sit on a church pew, take in Sunday morning and live our lives the same way, we're not stirred, we're not maturing, we're not putting into practice God's word. And honestly, it's like, do we really know Christ if we're not doing what he's called us to do, if we're not discipling nations, if we're not casting out devils and healing people? And it's something I question myself with is, am I really doing what God's calling me to do? And I want to encourage you guys that we need to be practicing what God has spoken to us, what God has called us to. If you back it up to verse 10, it says, a curse on anyone who is lax in doing the Lord's work. And man, that's pretty straightforward. He's saying that when we don't do God's will, this is literally, he's saying, a curse. And man, it's pretty strong imagery. And I don't believe that's the exact same thing as applies today. I believe Jesus lifted the curse when he died on the cross. But I believe that principle, or that that direct sentiment does apply, that when we don't do what God's called us to, when he's asked us to do it, that it's something that that the Lord looks down on it and sees as disobedience. And that's what I believe that, one of the principles that we can apply to today is that when God calls us to do something, we should be doing it. We shouldn't be waiting around for the perfect timing. That when God says to do something, it's for a reason. And, there are extremes both ways that, you do something before you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing, or don't do anything until all the conditions are perfect. But, there's always balance in everything we do. And I think when God calls us to do something, you use wisdom, but you get to work, right? So I just want to encourage you guys that whatever it is that the Lord's been calling you to do lately, do something, because what you do matters. And when we're slow to do what God's called us to do, a lot of times we can miss the opportunity. And so don't miss your opportunity. Whatever, it is you're doing, make sure and go after it. Because, if you're doing it, God's called you to it, make sure that you don't just let it go or let it go to the wayside, that we make sure to fight the good fight and that we keep honoring what God has called us to do. All right, that's what I have for you this morning. God bless you. We can't wait to hear from you. Please, you can email me at marco@theministrypodcast.com. Subscribe to our iTunes. Find us on YouTube, Twitter, Tumblr, on our Facebook, and maybe I can post a couple of pictures out here from Quintana that we took yesterday. It's just as beautiful as today. So anyhow, God bless you. We will see you next time.